All right, guys, so welcome to the FFL Solidity team call. This call is every Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 12 o'clock Pacific time. So welcome to the call. My name is Marisa Maggio. If you don't know me, welcome to the team. But we're gonna get started today just with some recognition. Christina's gonna go ahead and screen share and we will take it from there. All right, so first thing I just want to note too is, so today is the first day in terms of Family First Life of November. So we just want to make sure that we note that. So November starts today, week 1. It is a 4-week turn-in. So if you're going for a goal, you want to just make sure that you do realize it's a 4-week turn-in, and the month of November actually ends the day before Thanksgiving. So just to give you guys a reference point of when that month is going to end, if you're going for a goal, which hopefully going into a brand new month, we all have a goal. Also kind of ending up the year, hopefully we all have a goal as well. So awesome. So teamwork does make the dream work. So November week 1 of 4. And congratulations to Zach Habrutzi. I always say it wrong. I think I said it right that time though. And he issue paid $15,000 or a little over $15,000 week 2 of October. So shout out to Zach for being the top agent of the week. And then October week 2. So again, we're going into week 1 of November. As you guys, most of you guys know, the numbers lag. So in terms of numbers, we're at week 2. We should have week 3 numbers today. So top 5, Rolene Lee, 11,000, myself, 11,000, Yuri, 11,000, Rami, 12, and Zach, 15. So great job, everybody there. Well over 10. And then congratulations to Linda, who passed her New York State exam. Super excited to see what she's going to do here at FFL. And then, so in week 2 of October, we had 6 first-time writers. So super excited for a lot of you guys. As I spoke with a lot of you guys and just kind of seeing you guys reach out, learn, and adjust, grow. It's really exciting. So shout out to Alexis, Tim, Jacob, Lila, Patty, and Tiffany for writing their first piece of business in October week 2. And if you can do it once, you can do it a million times. So don't psych yourself out. Maybe it was your first week, you wrote your first policy or your first couple of policies. Just remember, you can do it a million times. October week 4 submit. Myself, a little over 4 over the weekend. Wasn't my best weekend, or anybody's, but that's okay. We have this weekend. And then as a team for week 2, we've issued a little bit over 160,000. So we have 2 weeks to go. I know our goal is a little bit stretched. As a lot of you guys know, I like to shoot for the stars because I think that we all have a lot more potential than we show. And I think that goes for everybody in the world. So we're at 160,000. We are number 1 in the base shop. But again, we're gunning for 500,000. That 160,000 represents so much more than just $160,000 of business issued and paid. That's $160,000 that's been deposited into agents that are on this call or within this group's, bank accounts. And I take a lot of pride in that because it's about helping families in terms of in the home, and then helping agents help their family as well. So shout out to everybody on the team. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys. And then couple changes here. So if you guys are going to be at this event or you aren't going to be at this event, like, we should reconsider right now. So before we had the event in Phoenix, and then we also had an event here in Massachusetts. The one in Massachusetts is going to be moved. It's going to be moved probably the first week of December. In terms of timing, it just didn't work out well for both me and Josh being in sync. And with that being said, we do want to go ahead and really kind of push this event in Phoenix at the Dream Center. And not because it, it's at, not because of anything else, except that big decisions are made at big events. And whether you want to believe that or not, that's totally fine. I just know that like when I have made any decision in this business, whether it was to issue more business, it was to start building a team, it was how to help my agents, it was anything that was a big decision for me, or how to get staff, or how to set up an office, or anything of that sort to move in the right direction. I made that decision typically at something of this sort. It's a conference. So at this conference, it's going to be huge. Definitely the next biggest event next to, annual convention. So if you are anywhere near there, or you can get yourself there, get there. It's going to be worth it. If you have any questions about like you want to go and you're not really sure, like reach out to me, because this event is huge, 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 huge. You're going to hear from great people, not just within, one area. You're going to hear from great people all over the country in Phoenix. So if you can get yourself there, please get yourself there. It's November 15th at the Dream City Church in Phoenix, Arizona. And then last thing I do want to go over, I know it seems like it's far away, but it's really not that far away. If you haven't registered, it's a free registration. You want to go ahead and just hit the done button on this. Go ahead to fflconvention.com and register for annual convention. This right here, I just want to tell everybody on this call, and I say this again with all love and honesty, if you don't go to this event, you're basically saying, like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Like this event right here, like if you can't get there, it has to be because like something crazy happened. It can't, like, if not, it's just like nothing's gonna change, right? Like if nothing changes, nothing changes. Like this is a perfect example. So hit the done button on this. If you have kids, get the babysitter set up, spouse, talk to your spouse about it, get there with your spouse. Even people who are not in the business yet or don't work directly with Family First Life yet, they're invited. That's kind of the point of it, is to learn a lot from it, take a lot from it, but don't go there alone. Go there with somebody, bring somebody with you. And you're just exposing somebody else to the business. So from my experience, these 3 days at annual convention are huge, just in the essence of being able to learn from different people. And I know for me, before I go to any of these events, I always write down 5 people I want to talk to, and I make it a point to go up to them and ask them a direct question. And then I also make it a point to introduce myself to 10 people that I don't know, just like, hi, my name's Marisa, so that I can be like, hey, I met you at annual convention. I have a couple of questions. You have a few minutes? And they're like, yeah, right? Because they remember I said, hi, my name's Marisa, great to meet you. So it's just really about connecting and like learning. And again, you make big decisions at big events. So get there, please. If you're not registered, register right when we hop off this call. All right. So today, in terms of what this call is mainly going to be about, there are a lot of people that are at the Apple Valley event. However, it's going to be about milestones. And I think in this business, or I know in this business, we all have to overcome the same exact struggles in every area. Like the struggles of not wanting to buy leads, the struggles of getting on the phones, the struggles of not wanting to get on the phones, the struggles of not making enough dials, the struggles of going into a home and finally getting in there and not knowing what to say, the struggles of not calling from the home and what it looks like. Basically, there's a lot of adversity that we're going to have to overcome. But at the same time, every time you make a change in this business, you're solving a problem, right? Like you change something, you solve a problem. You didn't have leads, you changed that, you bought leads, you solved the problem. You didn't know how to overcome, I didn't fill out the form, you went on YouTube, watched video, took it from it, repetitively said it on the phone, and now you overcame it, right? So you're building your stamina, basically, is my point. And that's going to be a milestone, right? So every time you make a change and you solve a problem, you're building your stamina to be able to overcome more and more things within this business. We have to remember, even, Paul McLean and Sean Mike have obstacles, but what they do is they adjust their mindset and they overcome it, right? And it's like, at the end of the day, if you're on this call and you want to build a massive business, or you're on this call and you just want to write crazy production, that's all it is adjusting your mindset. Like, if you can adjust your mindset, you can pretty much change anything. So looking at the law of averages, this is really big, and Yuri hit on this really well last week. So if you weren't listening, I hope that you can listen now. And what she was talking about was, she was saying, like, she knows her numbers, right? Like, she knows that if she has X amount of leads and she makes X amount of dials, she's going to probably book X amount of appointments. And if she has X amount of appointments, she's probably going to sit with this many people, and this many people she's probably going to close. Where did she get these numbers? You get these numbers when you're using a dial tracker, which everybody should be using, and then you're following up on the dial tracker. So the dial tracker is great in the essence that it tracks your dials. But I think that we all dropped the ball kind of after that. We're like, oh, okay, we're done with our dial tracker because, you know, it's filled. And if we take a look at the bottom of the dial tracker, it will say like number of appointments set, number of appointments that you sat with, number of appointments that you sold. You know, what is your close ratio? You know, like did you reach your goal? My point is that you might have set 16 appointments, and then you could be like, wow, I'm awful because like I sat with, you know, 5 people. It's like, okay, well, what happened to the other 11 of them, right? So being able to kind of do the math backwards is going to help you keep your mind level. But until you do that, or if you're not doing it and you're not like basically you don't have a notebook and you're not recording that information somewhere, then you're not going to start doing it until you start doing it, which could be today. So if you're not doing that, please start doing it now. The averages can't beat you, right? Once you know your average, like it can't beat you. It's like the law of large numbers. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's called the law of large numbers because it's a law. Like no one's changing it. And with that being said, staying level, right? Like in this business, like we could have like the worst day, and then we're like, I don't even know why I started life insurance. Like this is the worst day of my life, and like wicked dramatic, right? Like I've been in the car all day, like I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Like this is awful. And you're in like your AC car, like you know what I mean? Like come on, guys. Like I know, like I've done it. I guilty, okay? Like guilty as charged. My point is though, is if you let yourself get low like that, and then like let's just say like you call your friend and you're like, you know, I don't even believe I decided this life insurance thing. Like I'm in my car. I just drove an hour out to this guy's house, and he had the audacity to tell me that he had to think about it. And like, you know, like you're pumping yourself up, dude. And then on top of it, if you're talking to like an agent who works here who's also getting started, now you're like freaking them out, right? So don't do that, okay? But more importantly than the agent part is, we're all going to have great days and we're all going to have bad days, right? So like for me, when I'm having a bad day and like I look at the Slack, I'm like, oh, like I'm happy to see like Valerie's killing it and having a great day. Like that makes me feel better because it's like everybody can't have a bad day on the same day. Like that would be really difficult. Like the whole team can't have a bad day on the same day. So it's like, I know if I'm not winning, I can look next to me at Slack and say, okay, well, Valerie's winning, you know, Roy's winning, Christina's winning, like Dawn's winning. All these people are winning today. So like stop, right? It's one day. And also not getting too high. I think that that's also really important. It's like we will get a deposit for, you know, $4,000, and the next day you get another deposit for $4,000. Don't get me wrong, like I love those deposits. However, not getting too high about it. And what I mean by that is like, you can become extremely complacent. And then that becomes a problem because if one of those policies that you got paid $4,000 on charges back, now because you can't, because you're having a hard time staying level, now you're low again. But you were up when you made the sale, but now you're here because it fell off, right? So if we can just stay nice and even and just think to ourselves, today is going to go the way that I planned it to go, which is going to go good. And if it doesn't, that's okay. But like, I'm prepared. I know I'm prepared for the day. It's really hard to fail, like completely fail when you know that you went into the field and you worked hard that day. What I mean by that is like you were in the field at 8 in the morning, and if you didn't have appointments, you were door knocking, and in between your appointments, you were door knocking. The thing that gets me is when you're in the field, you got to be in the field. And what I mean by that is like, why are we going to, like, dead seriously? Because, and you guys are all liars if you don't say you've done this, okay? If you've been in the field. Have any of us ever been in the field and we have like a 2-hour gap? And we're like, oh, well, where can I head for 2 hours? Like, where am I? You should be heading to the people who didn't answer the phone, right? Like, that's where we should be heading. But it's more like, okay, I'm going to sit in like the CVS parking lot. I'm going to stop at Dunkin' Donuts, grab a coffee, maybe go back in, grab a donut, maybe sit there for a little while. Maybe they'll call and cancel. If they call and cancel, then I'm just not going to go. Like that is no. When you're in the field, you have to be in the field doing income producing activities. Income producing activities, what are those? Those are running appointments, right? If you don't have appointments or you get no-showed, that's door knocking and dialing. So if you don't have the proper activity when you're in the field, change it. It's like anything else. If your morning routine is messed up, you have to change it. It's a pattern. It's going to hurt a little bit, but in the long term, it's going to hurt a lot more if you don't do it. And you're going to have days that you're like, wow, I don't believe I door knocked 5 people. And I sat down with Scott, and Scott ended up buying a policy for $350 a month. And he's so excited about it, right? And now you're excited about it. And you're like, oh my God, door knocking works. And like, guess what? Door knocking does work. Like, just in case you guys didn't know, just like no one wants to go knock on anybody's door, no one's going to do it. So it's like, who on here is going to do it, right? Because that person's going to win. That person's always going to win. So with that being said, just staying level. The person set an appointment with you. So it's almost like that fear of like, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? Like whatever you're going to do, whatever you're going to say is whatever you're going to do, whatever you're going to say when you go in there. You can't worry about it, right? So it's like, you want to realize, okay, how many of us have, filled out a form for life insurance? And like, if you have, like, please unmute yourself. Have filled out a form for life insurance, have got a call, have taken the call, have invited somebody to their home and let them in the house. Because like I haven't done it. Like I've been on the other side of it, right? But I never filled the form out. My point is for somebody to get into my house, they better be like National Grid. They better be like fixing like the heat, or like they have to be like the water is like, like going crazy in the shower or something. I don't want people in my house for no reason, unless it's important to me, right? Just like all of you guys, I'm sure. So my point of that is you can't overcomplicate it. They want you there. If they didn't want you there, you might be like, oh, they were so rude when they got to the door. Like, I know, okay? Like Tom is 76. Like, let's give him a break. You know what I mean? So like, just level with Tom, at the door. Hey, yeah, how's your day going? He's like, oh, my day sucks. It's like, okay, well, you know what? Well, Tom, I hope that your day gets better from here forward, like smile, I don't know, like make a joke, if you're funny, if you're not funny, don't make a joke. But like, my point is that you got in front of Tom. Tom, if he truly didn't want you there, you wouldn't have got that far. This person filled a lead out, you called it, you set the appointment, you got into the home. So it's not even like you just set the appointment. You got into the home and you're sitting with the client. Don't overthink it. Don't make it bigger than what it needs to be, I guess is my point. And being clear on why you're in the home. Like, you're in the home because you're helping people. You're in the home because Tom filled the form out and asked for help. So maybe Tom isn't in the best of moods right when you go in the house. Like, that's okay. Like, just level with Tom. Like, and just to kind of like, I don't want to go on like a whole like piggyback, but like just to kind of piggyback off that really quickly, because you guys know me, I have to go down a rabbit hole a little bit. It's like, if I go into a home and Tom's like, I'm going to stick with Tom. He's 76. He's not having his greatest day. Okay. Like, I'm going to be like, hey, Tom, I'm Marisa. We have that appointment today, and he's going to be like, oh yeah. Like, okay. Like, he's like, yeah, like, can we just reschedule it? Like, I really don't feel good. And I'm like, and honestly, I get that. Like, like once a week, I probably get that at the door. And I'm like, Tom, I just drove out here to your house for our appointment that we set yesterday. Should just take about 10 or 15 minutes. Can we just bang it out now? My boss is going to be mad if we don't. And they always say, yeah. Like, just ask the person. If the person says, like, they're asking you basically. So just ask them back. Hey, like, they're going to be mad at me. We just set this appointment yesterday. Like, it should just take 10 minutes. Like, let's go. So when I go into that house, I'm going to level with Tom's tonality. If Tom is like aggressive and yelling, which honestly, like, I've never had a guy aggressive and yelling at me, or I would leave, by the way. So just so every woman on this call knows and feels comfortable with that, and guy too. So I apologize to the guys, I left you out there. But what I more so mean is, like, if Tom is going to be like, yeah, like, I don't know, I guess I just want to make sure my family's okay, I'm going to do the same exact thing to Tom so he can feel it. I'm going to talk to Tom with my eyes down, not to be like mocking him, but just so he can see it. And that way, then he's going to actually open up to me, and then he's probably going to start looking at me, and he's probably going to start to like me a little bit more, because tonality, matching and mirroring is a real thing. If you look at like a husband and a wife and you put them next to each other and you put them in the same environment, in like the same room, and then like basically you're just like, do your thing, usually they're going to be doing something similar to one another, even if you're in the same exact room but complete opposite sides of the room, because they're used to doing things in similar motion. The tonality, the way that they move, the way that they maybe like, you know, or even like how they work with their kids, for example. Like it's going to look it's going to look similar because that's what the kids know, right? So it's the same thing in a house. You want to make sure you're matching what the client knows, and that's what the client is seeing, hearing, doing, etc. So this is actually really big. Everything looks a lot easier when you look back on it. So like looking back on my first dial day, I could be like, oh, like, I don't know why you guys can't make 500 dials like in, 5 hours, like, because I did it on my first dial day. Okay, first of all, let's not compare. Second of all, in that time, it didn't feel good. It felt awful, right? It was like, damn, one more rep. Am I ever going to get there? Am I ever going to get there? Am I ever going to get there? Eventually, you get there. But my point is when you look back, everything looks easier because you passed all these milestones, right? You passed all these learning curves. So every time that you say, I don't feel like doing this, and you do it anyways, like that's a win under your belt. It's a win. You're winning every single time you pull up to a house. And like, I'm guilty of this, like I pull up to a house and I'm like, oh no, I don't think they're home. I think the lights are on. I don't think they're home. They're probably not home. And it's because I get nervous still till this day. I don't think they're home. I just drove like 3 hours to get there, like sat in Boston traffic. Oh, they're not home. They're home. Get out of the car. Okay. So my point is, and then you look back in hindsight, or this is for my example of like almost being scared to go in the house. And then you leave the house and you're like, oh my God, that was like the nicest woman I've ever met. Like Kathy was a sweetheart, right? And you're like, oh wow, like, so it's like looking back, right? It was actually a lot easier than we thought it was going to be. You want to make sure that whether you're getting started or, you're in this business, that you're following a schedule. And I say that with so much like love. You want to have no white space, like none. You want to schedule your personal life too. And I don't mean like, oh, you have to be like, I'm getting like, I'm going to the winery with, Amanda at 6, but it's like on Sunday, like that's not like, I mean, if you want to do that, do it. But more so what I'm saying is at least block out, like, these are my working hours. These are my non-negotiables. Like, these are the things that no matter what is going on in my life, unless it's a full out emergency and I would call out of my W-2 job, then this is what's going to happen. And I think oftentimes too, we give ourselves that excuse of like, okay, well, like, I don't have to. And here's the thing here. It's like, you're never going to have to do anything here. And I'm never going to tell you you have to. And Sean's never going to tell you you have to. No one's ever going to tell you you have to do this. But what I will say is if you don't have to do it, like, then you're not going to do it. So if you haven't made it in your head, like tricked your brain that you're W-2 and your job is to pick the phone up and make 16 appointments on Monday and Thursday, you got to do that because you're not like, you have to trick your brain. If not, it's like, oh, well, my aunt twice removed dog got sick and we wanted to just check on the dog and run by the house quick and like give the dog like, a hug and give it a treat and leave. Like, it's like, would you do that if you had a W-2 job and would you call your employer and be like, hey, I just wanted to run by and check on my aunt's dog. The dog's been through a lot in its life and like, I've met it like twice. Like, no, you wouldn't do that. So don't make excuses as to why you can't go into the field or why you can't get on the phones. Make a schedule and be an adult and act as if it is a W-2 job, as if this is your schedule. Like your manager just sent the schedule out and this is the schedule. And that goes to say too, like when the student wants to learn, the teacher appears. I can't beat this up enough. It's like, there's a couple of fundamentals in this business, like, right? It's like, in football, like run, tackle, block, catch, right? Those are like the fundamentals, right? Here, the fundamentals are like dial, be structured, go in the home, and sell insurance. It's not that hard, but at the same time, it's like, okay, run, tackle, block, catch. If I usually am blocking, right? And I don't know how to catch the damn ball. Someone's going to have to show me, right? Those might be the fundamentals. But like right now, you know, if like Eric Stewart was like, hey, like, let's play a game of ball, I would be like, well, Eric, like, don't throw the ball this way because I'm just going to like duck and hide, right? But if I had to learn how to do it for my job, right, I'm going to be like, Eric, like, what should I do? Like, do I put gloves on? Like, what do I do, right? Like, help me out. Like, so my point is if you don't have those fundamentals down, you have to ask for help. And if you don't ask for help, we don't know you need help. And it can be scary because there's times too, it's like almost like everybody likes to be helped differently. And what I mean by that in a 1099 position is some people like to have their hand held. And I'm not really good at holding people's hands unless they're direct with me and they tell me that. I need my hand held. I would really like for you to hold me accountable. Because I'm not going to text Dawn and be like, Dawn, what happened last week? And by the way, I think Dawn had like a killer week. But I'm not going to do that, right? Because it's like she's 1099, she's an independent contractor, and like she didn't ask for my feedback, right? So my point is we have to know our fundamentals, and we have to know like it's okay to reach out to people, even outside of our group. Of course, reach out to me, reach out to Christina, but reach out to anybody in Family First Life. Like I always say this, and I say it with so much love, like Paul be talking to more people that are not direct to him than are direct to him. You know what I mean? Like, and he does that because he's like, well, if you guys don't call me, like, I don't know what you need. So he makes it a point, like, you guys have to reach out to me. You can't expect me to understand what you need. We can only reach out so many times, is my point. So another milestone is kind of just knowing you're like, you know, you haven't arrived. And being okay with that, you know, you got through your fundamentals, you know your fundamentals. That's a milestone, right? Knowing how to dial, knowing how to teach somebody else, like, hey, like, well, when they tell me I'm not interested, this is what I say. That's great. It's fundamental. Being able to have a role and purpose in in the home, fundamental, right? In the home, you have to know how to speak with the client. And really, what it's going to do is just going to make sure that you know that you haven't arrived, but you're hitting your next milestone, right? So then another milestone is when you hit months 10, 11, and 12. And if you're unfamiliar with what I mean by months 10, 11, and 12, we get advanced 9 months up front. So your 10th month into this business is actually really fun, assuming that you write business, because you start getting your back end pay. Your back end pay is like your basic, it's residual income. You're getting paid for work you already did. So you're getting your 10th month, your 11th month, your 12th month as the client pays. So it starts adding on top of your income and becomes essentially residual. It is reoccurring, of course, after 10, 11, and 12. You're just getting your renewal percentage. I don't want to confuse anybody there. However, it is still a renewal. It's always going to be there. And we have to realize it's a process. So invest in the process, invest in the business, whether that's time, that's money, that's being uncomfortable, that's your schedule, whatever it is that you have to invest in the business. Right now, if you're in this business and you're not doing or making what you want to make or doing what you want to do or helping the amount of people that you want to help, it's probably just something small that you need to change. So like reach out, but reaching out direct. And also, again, going back to the beginning of what I was saying, you have to know your numbers. I don't care if you started yesterday or you started today on the phones or you started 3 months ago. Just moving forward, use the dial tracker, know how many dials you made, how many appointments you set, how many people you sat with, how many people you closed. That way we're gonna know exactly what's going on in terms of personal production on your side, on that side of the business. All right, so I'm going off the notebook as you guys can tell, but it's really milestones. So my point is every milestone you're gonna have like a different feel, right? So as a new agent, first, like, you know, your next milestone is to get that deposit, right? Which follows that sale. So if you can do it once, you really can do it a million times. Like it's not that deep, and you'll realize it after you write your first application if you haven't done that already, that it's really not that hard. Once they just, you know, you have some structure in the home. And then this is really big because I feel like it's not talked about enough. it's hard to stay in this business if you're struggling and you're not asking for help. Like it can get really, really hard, and you can get really hard on it, like mentally, like beat yourself up and everything of that sort. And it can push you out of the business. And I think that the main reason, in my personal opinion, that people get pushed out of this business is because they don't ask enough people for help. And I think it's avoidable. So really being able to reach out and just like ask people for help, because when you start hitting milestones of being like financially independent or like not having debt or whatever your milestones are, like what do you want out of it? Like it doesn't matter what I want. It doesn't matter what, you know, the person next to you wants. To an extent, it doesn't matter. My point is it matters what you want. And if you're not clear about what you want, then you're not going to be aiming for anything ever. And this is going to be very, very hard. But people get pushed out of this business because they don't reach out for help. And it's like, I know for me, when I came in this business, most of you guys know this, my first month in insurance, I could not sell insurance. Like, I don't know, like maybe I was like, I don't know, maybe I was 19 and just like, it didn't click. I don't know, but I couldn't sell. Like I had convinced myself of that. But after I overcame that, it was like, I was like, okay, now I get it. It was like a machine, you know? So like, overcoming that and giving yourself the proper amount of time, but also not being like, oh, I'm just gonna like not open that email from America because like who cares? It's like, if you can't log into your America back office, don't call me. Love you guys. Like you got to do your part too, is kind of more show my point. And then never stop being a student of this business, no matter what milestone you hit. Like, you know, Paul's an integrity partner, he's still learning every day. Sean Mike is an integrity partner, he's still learning every day, right? So just being a student of the business, and then reflecting and moving forward. I think that if you kind of like, if you have a planner and you take a look back at maybe like your past 3 months, your past 6 months, whatever it might be, you'll probably be like, oh, wow, like, you know, I thought that like I was really good here and I was actually awful, or I thought I was like awful and I was actually doing good, or whatever it might be. You're going to see your strengths and your weaknesses just by your schedule. And that's why I love the schedule so much, and that's why I hit on it so often, because it's a place you can go and you can reflect. Like if somebody asked me what happened last week on Tuesday and had a gun to my head, I would be like, can I grab my planner? Like, I don't know. Like that's just how, because I just follow it. I just do what it tells me to do. So just reflecting and then moving forward, like reflecting, okay, this past month, you know, let's say that you sat with, you know, 40 families and, you know, you closed 20. Okay, you have a 50% close ratio. You're aware of that, right? So now every time you're setting appointments, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to close, if I can get in front of all of them, I'm going to close half, right? So reflecting, moving forward, but then also at the same time, like don't compare yourself to others, right? It's like, it's really easy to take a look at the leaderboards, take a look at what FFL is doing as a company, and it's amazing, don't get me wrong, and then be like, oh, like, well, what's wrong with me? Or like, how come I'm not seeing that result? And it's like, because you're not fill in the blank there, that person's name. You're not this person, you're not this person. It's really hard for me all the time, by the way. I have a really hard comparison complex, and it's not good. So if you can start doing that early on, not comparing yourself to other people, do it, because that's something I'm personally working on, and I know I have to fix about my own self. And then just realizing like one day in the field, 1 week in the field, like 1 month in the field even, like it's not the end of the world. And I don't say that just to like minimize it and act like it doesn't matter. I'm not like, I get it. We all have bills. We're all adults and we're all here to make money and to build a business. And with that being said, it's like, we have to know our numbers, right? We have to know our schedule. We have to know our numbers. We have to be able to predict this before it can predict itself. Realizing things like, we say that on Mondays, we dial for Tuesday, Wednesday for 16 appointments. On Thursday, we dial for Friday, Saturday for another 16. So that's 32 appointments in a week, if we look at it like that, right? And I really want anybody who's brand new to try to stay with me on this, because it's really, really, really important. Because we can feel like we're working really hard and we're actually not, okay? So if you're supposed to run 34 appointments in a week, and I'm really bad at math, 32 appointments in a week. 16 and 16 is 32. So if you're supposed to run 32 appointments in a week And, you know, you go back and you look at your planner and you're like, okay, well, this week I ran 6, and then these 2 days I ran 6, and then the next 2 I ran 2. And basically my point is your cumulative appointment count in a month comes out to, let's just say, for a nice even number, let's just say it comes out to 60 appointments in a month, okay? If we all take 32, because that's the amount of appointments we're supposed to have every week, we multiply that by 4, you're gonna get 128, meaning that in 1 month, you should set 128 appointments, right? So if we backtrack that number and we all went back and we counted how many appointments did we have in the month of October, and let's just say that we had 60 appointments in the month of October. We ran 2 weeks. Are you guys with me on that math? So like 32 times 4, because usually it's a 4-week turn-in, is 128. And let's say that we set 60 appointments in a month. We actually only worked barely 2 weeks. So we have to be aware of that at least, right? Because you might be like, oh, well, what Yuri writes in a week is what I write in a month. Well, do the math backwards. Like, I love Yuri, but like, she'll be the first person to get on here, so she's not anything special. She just follows schedule. So we have to be aware. And I'm not saying that every dial session, that 16 appointments is always going to be so easy to get. And it's like, oh, like you're terrible if you can't set 16. That's not what I'm saying. I wouldn't want anyone to be confused. More so what I'm saying is we have to not be confused of, hey, this is why I got a half-month result, because I ran half the month. I only had half of the amount of appointments scheduled that I was supposed to for the month. So with it being a new month, 32 appointments per week, if you guys all, if you're full-time, write 128, write that number down somewhere, because that's the amount of appointments you should set this month, okay? So does that make sense? Can somebody give me like a thumbs up or like a no, or yeah? Okay, cool. All right, so we want to make sure we're just super, super aware of that. And then with that being said, I want to just close out with like 2 quick things. First, your role and purpose. I know you guys are probably like, oh my God, she's going to talk about this again. Yeah, I am. Because if you go into a home, there's going to be only one consistent thing that you can say, and it's your role and purpose. Who you are, why you're there, and what you're going to get done that day. And if you do not set that standard at the beginning, you can't expect your client to be like, here's my social security number and a voided check. You have to set the standard at the beginning. That way you can be honest with your client throughout the appointment. At the end, if they say, I have to think about it, when a client says, I have to think about it, I look at them like, wait, no, Keith, we said at the beginning, like, that you weren't going to think about it. Like, because we already went over that. So my point is we're going to blast out my role and purpose. Christina's going to go ahead and blast that, or I should say, not we, because I'm not very good at those things. However, Christina's going to blast that out. I encourage each and every one of you guys on this call to make your own role and purpose. I'm not saying mine is perfect because it's mine. No, we just have access to this one, and I know that it hits the points. So go through that, make your own role and purpose, type it out. And if you want to go ahead and send that over to me, to Christina, to your upline, to whoever that is, please do it, because it's going to be the only thing you can go into every single house and say. And if you can't say that, like literally, if somebody can't wake you up at 3 in the morning with a gun to your head and say, I'm going to kill you and everybody you love, if you can't hit me with your role and purpose right now, like, that's why you got to think about it, because it is your lifeline in the home. It is your lifeline with your client. It is how you're going to build trust with your client, because you're doing what you say you're going to do. So if you're confused with what that is, we're going to blast it out. But again, please make your own and type it out. Like, a member of our team who's on here, who I know personally, who I won't call out, told me, like, I do have a role and purpose, or I do have, I forgot what it was, but they had something, but it should have been like formatted. It was actually, I do have my lead expenses. Actually, I lied. It was, I do have my clients written down. I said, okay, where? It's like the sheet. They were like, it's on my phone in my notes. I'm like, okay, like that's good. What are we gonna do with that, right? Like, there's no notes on it, right? Like, it's like, I signed up Don Bell for life insurance. And it will be like 1,300 in there. It's like, or it'll be like 1,300. It's like, how is that helping me if Dawn calls me? It's not, right? So it's like, just, my point is the reason I want you to type the role and purpose out is because you have to do exactly that. You have to type it out. When you type it out, you have to think about it, right? So make sure that you type it out. If you don't have a typed out role and purpose and you call me for help when you leave a home, I'm going to ask you to send me over the PDF because I want to make sure that you have it. And I don't do that to be mean. I do it because honestly, I can't close in a home without my role and purpose. That's why I say it. I know without mine, I can't close. Like I'll go to all of you guys' houses and try to sell you life insurance and it won't work because I don't have a role and purpose. So if you don't have a role and purpose, you're literally going into houses or you're speaking with clients on the phone, whatever it is, and you're shooting in the dark and hoping you hit the target. And that's just not the way that you want to run your business, I'm sure. So role and purpose, and then last thing, resolving your leads. This is really important because like I said at the beginning, doing the things that other people are not willing to do are what's going to basically like bungee jump you into this business, as corny as that sounds. When you can go and you can door knock and you can get uncomfortable, first of all, you tackled two things at the same time. The first thing that you tackled was you got uncomfortable and you made your first door knock. Like seriously, congratulations, that's a very big deal. It's very intimidating at the beginning. Once you go to your first door, you'll typically realize it's really not that hard, it's not that deep, and you overthought it. And that's normal, that's what our brains do. And we just sit there and think. We're like, oh my God, what's the worst thing that could happen? And we're like, well, it's like, okay, well, the first thing that's gonna happen, they're not home, like, I don't know. Or they tell you they already got it with like another FFL agent that you know, that's literally the worst thing that could happen. So door knocking. When you're working your leads and you're dialing on your leads, the 3 times back to back to back is a very, very big deal. Just to like give an example, and I always say this, but it's the dead honest truth. I book half of my appointments on that 3rd dial. If I didn't, I would have half of the schedule, and then I would have half of the month, and then my numbers would all be cut in half. So it's like, we got to think about it like a business is really just kind of, that's the whole point. Okay, so resolving leads. If you buy 100 leads, your goal on those 100 leads is to get yes or no. I don't care if they're like, oh, well, can you call me in like 3 weeks and like, you know, I'm on vacation and like my dog just left the house and he's going to be home later. Like people say crazy shit on the phone. Like, I know, guys, I know. But my point is when you go and you door knock that person, they probably are going to be normal, okay? You're going to get a yes or a no. More importantly, on the phones, if you're dialing off, if you live, for example, in California and your number is like Pennsylvania, just what, I don't know, that's what I thought of. You want to make sure you don't dial up your Pennsylvania number to call California leads. They're not going to answer the phone. Same thing, even if you're just dialing consistently off of your regular phone number. People are going to start like seeing like, oh, Marisa Maggio, that number keeps popping up. I don't know who she is. I'm not going to answer it. Like, and she calls me every Monday and every Thursday, right? We have a pattern here. They just cancel, or they're just going to block your number, right? So using and utilizing things like Sideline or Unlisted, or like, I don't know, people like Google Voice, whatever it is that can change your phone number, use it. I like Unlisted because you can have like 10 different numbers if you're dialing on different areas, and you can change the phone number. Every single dial session, you should be changing that phone number because that shouldn't be the phone number that your clients are getting. Your clients should have your contact information, your personal information, which will be on your leave behind that you're leaving behind in every single home. So making sure that you're dialing 3 times back to back to back, making sure you're changing your phone number every dial session. And again, you can use Unlisted, Sideline, Google Voice. And then for every single appointment that you set up, making sure you have 5 drop-bys in that area. So if you like text me or call me and you say, hey, like I booked 6 appointments, I can't get a hold of anybody else, you should have 30 drop-bys that are ready to go. Because again, going back to that 100, you have 100 leads in a stack. All we want is yes or no. That's it, yes or no. And then that way we're resolving our leads. So if not, you're going to end up with like this big, huge binder that says like in a year from now, you're going to be like, oh, wow, look, this lead was a year old. like you don't want, no, like you don't want a lead that was a year old, like, because I never resolved it. Like, go to the house, please. Because not everybody, no one else is willing to do it. That's why nobody else has done it. So door knock, change your phone number. If you're not willing to door knock, it's almost confusing to me. And please reach out to me because again, I know it can be intimidating, but once you do it once, it's not that deep, I promise. It can be uncomfortable, but that's why other people aren't willing to do it. So you're door knocking a person who filled a form out. You're not door knocking a random person. So just please be mindful of that. But other than that, I know it was a little bit all over the place, but main things I hope you guys leave with today are just, there are milestones in this business. There's learning curves. We're all going to go through them at a different pace. Making sure that you have a schedule and a schedule that you're keeping track and tabs on, and understanding that 32 appointments in a week, not 32 appointments in a month. And if it is 32 appointments in a month, being able to take self-accountability of, I only had 32 appointments, therefore it's basically the equivalent of running 1 week. Resolving all of your leads, so door knocking, dialing 3 times back to back to back, changing your phone number, and just making sure you resolve your leads. Just get a yes or get a no. It doesn't matter. Like, this business is so crazy lucrative. Like, just go. Like, what if I told anybody on this call that if you went across the street and knocked on Joe Smith's door and just said hi to him, I'll give you $3,000. Like, you would do it. I would do it. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but you would probably do it, right? So it's like the same exact thing is how you want to look at your leads. Like, when you have those leads you can't get a hold of, there's sales in there. You just have to pick them out. The only way you can pick them out at that point is door knocking, dialing at other times. And one last thing I want to leave you guys with, and then we can hop off, is if you are dialing on Mondays and Thursdays like we all typically are, or whatever your part-time schedule is, let's say you dial every Monday and Thursday just to make it nice and simple for the full-timers on this call. And now let's say that you're in the car and you're 2 o'clock on Wednesday no-shows you. Take that time and dial, because they're not expecting you to be dialing them. Like, the people you call every Monday and every Thursday, they're not expecting for you to call them. So like your leads from a month ago that you're still dialing on, go back to those leads and dial on them, because they're not expecting you to call them on a Wednesday, because you usually call on Monday and Thursday. So I hope that helps. Does anybody have any questions before we hop off? All right, well, welcome to November. Again, the month ends the day before Thanksgiving, so let's make it a massive month. Let me know anything I can do to help you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of the Thursday. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.